we've done that is different is then looking at the financial and the business models that exist within our industry. And it's quite unique. AI already is starting to shape the customer experience, using AI to better understand the peaks and troughs of your business, your quiet periods, your busy periods is going to be really important. I think having an outsourced team, they have that support and that infrastructure where they are constantly being challenged and they're learning from their peers in their parent company.
Hi everybody, welcome to the Devico Breakfast Bar. Here we speak with different people involved in the business landscape, share their expertise, delve into the latest tech trends, and explore the ins and outs of IT outsourcing. I'm Oleg Sadikov, and today I'm excited to have Robert Smith, co-founder at Sleek, the fastest growing booking solution for hair and beauty. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss new episodes. Hi, Robert, and thanks for joining me today.
Hey, lovely to be here, and great to be sharing some ideas and chatting all about IT outsourcing and everything tech.
Let's start our podcast with a little blitz. I start a sentence and you continue. Entrepreneurship gave me
huge passion, huge challenges, and a lot of fun.
Entrepreneurship deprived me
a lot of sleep, a lot of time with loved ones, and a lot of money.
My superpower is
resilience.
My main weakness is
staying in the weeds and wanting to help people out at the risk of probably getting other bigger things done.
When I'm afraid, I
work harder.
Sounds good. It's a great start.
I've never done that before. It's an interesting way of doing it. I like that.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your early career? What inspired you to enter the tech and beauty industries?
Yeah, sure. I initially worked for many years at L'Oreal in the professional division, so the salon division of L'Oreal. And I guess that's where I first saw a lot of the challenges that hair and beauty businesses were having, but also the challenges that we at L'Oreal, large FMCG, had. We didn't really have much data, so we didn't know what the consumer trends were, what people were booking, what services people were booking, what products people were buying, because we didn't have the sellout data. Equally, as a marketeer, I was trying to drive traffic to our partners, but I didn't have a digital footprint. I didn't really understand where to land people because a lot of people didn't have websites, didn't have booking platforms. So we had a very incomplete picture of the consumer landscape. And obviously a lot of our ads weren't particularly effective because we couldn't really see what was working. And so loved it, really enjoyed it, had the opportunity to then actually move to FMCG and went to Philips and ran a lot of their personal care marketing across male and female beauty. And it was at that point I actually got introduced to my co-founder, Steph, who had started looking at the beauty industry more from a personal pain point of she couldn't book hair and beauty appointments online. She was working late. A lot of people were only taking phone bookings, and she sort of figured that this felt like an industry that needed to be disrupted. And we got chatting and she founded Sleek. I joined as a co-founder, and really the rest is history. And I've gone back into hair and beauty, having left it, to solve the problems that I guess I sort of first identified 15 years ago when I was much, much younger, in how we can help those partners grow their business, but also how we can help the consumer, that end client, have a really seamless booking experience that they are used to with taxis, with hotels, with restaurants. But yet for the hair and beauty industries, it's still a very antiquated model. It's still very much phone bookings, walk-ins. It's often 10 people quote it. So 10 to 15 years behind a lot of the other consumer verticals. That's the challenge that we've got, and that's what we're helping people with.
The beauty industry is massive, estimated at over 500 billion globally, and technology is rapidly transforming it. What made you see the opportunity to combine these two forces?
It's a funny one in that it almost feels like it's the last bastion of analog on the high street. And as I said, if you look up and down the high street, you look at how consumers are spending, where the share of wallet is going. The transformation that we've seen in hotels, restaurants, airlines, everyday consumer spend, whether that be groceries to more luxury items, everything has moved online. And yet hair and beauty is still very much, it's a human industry. It's very much a personal industry. You know your hairdresser, you know your barber incredibly well. They know you incredibly well. It's very intimate. And as a result, it's almost been resistant to change. And that's partly from their own psychology, but it's also partly due to the lack of technology that's been built for the industries. There's a lot of technology that's out there, but it's very general technology. It's very broad. It's just a basic booking system. What the industry needed was something much more specific. And as you said, it's a huge industry. It's incredibly recession proof. It's incredibly stable, but also consumer spend increasingly is growing there. And so for us, we saw a big opportunity, large addressable market, growth market. There's more and more sites opening, but one where there's a lot of white space, and that in tech is fairly rare nowadays.
Building a seamless payment system is crucial for any booking platform. As I know, 70% of saloon software still relies on manual payments, which can be inefficient and error prone. How is Slick tackling these complexities to provide a smooth experience for both businesses and customers?
Yeah, it's a great question. And you're right. There's two people in this relationship. There's the end client and then there's the actual business. We started out online building a payment system with Stripe that plugged into our online booking system that allowed our partners to take upfront deposits for bookings. And post-COVID, there was a huge boom in bookings. People wanted to secure those bookings with deposits. And so that was something we rolled out a few years ago. Since then, we've built out a full POS system as well. The majority of the GMV flows in store, not online. And so building out that POS system with Stripe has been really important. But I think what we've done that is different is then looking at the financial and the business models that exist within our industry. And it's quite unique in that you have a lot of people that they run an employed business, but also you have a lot of people that actually blend an employed set of staff with what they would call chair renters, so self-employed practitioners. And the way they get around that at the moment is they will have one card machine for the employed staff, and then each individual self-employed member will have their own card machine. So you'll go to the front desk and there'll be a WorldPay machine, a SumUp, an iZettle, 2 Squares, and a Dojo machine. And they can never remember whose is whose. There's wrong payments. Clients are tapping on the wrong machine, so they have to do refunds, chasing clients. What we've built with Stripe is just one simple terminal. And we do the clever thing in the background to route the right payment to the right practitioner. So if you're an employed member of staff, your revenue goes into the business bank account. Me as a self-employed, any revenue that I take through the card machine automatically gets deposited in my bank account. We've done this just by getting very, very close to our customers, understanding what they want, looking at the status quo, challenging it of, well, why are you working this way? How can we help you? Not only improve the client experience, so rather than having to tap on multiple machines to buy a retail product and then a haircut, you can tap on one machine. That improves the client experience. Easier checkout, you can get more people through the door. There's a business benefit. And then there's the administrative benefit of rather than having to do payroll across multiple different machines and do a reconciliation, we can actually unify that and make that a lot simpler. And so that's something that is hugely attractive. We've got new tipping legislation that's coming into the UK on the 1st of October. So again, that's going to sort of change the payments ecosystem and what people need from their payment provider. So there's a lot of opportunity, and that's before we even get into capital lending, issuing. There's a huge wave, and I think there was a report recently from Adyen sort of saying that your typical SMB platform business, the SMB customers, they don't just want to have a platform and then a separate payment provider. They want to have one unified provider who essentially does it all. And that's really how we're positioning Slick.
How collaboration with L'Oreal impacted your business?
Yeah, so L'Oreal they came through the Founders Factory ecosystem, and obviously I knew a lot of the people there too. So L'Oreal initially invested in our business, and they helped in a couple of ways. I think obviously that brand credibility of being sort of associated with the number one FMCG beauty brand is huge for us. But I think also practically we were able to tap them up for insights as to how the industry worked, what people were looking for, get introductions to key decision makers, key thought leaders in the space about what people wanted from a booking system and how we should go about building it. We've also benefited from a sort of go-to-market approach with them as well, in terms of referrals from their partner salons. It's definitely been something that's been helpful, but I think we've learned a lot ourselves about how to sell software, how to sell technology. L'Oreal they're very good at selling bottles of shampoo, tubes of hair color. Selling software is not what they do day to day. And so I think what we've certainly learned is that all these partnerships come with certain advantages, certain things that it can really deliver for you, but equally you've got to go and deliver the rest, because a partnership is not the holy grail. It's not just going to solve everything for your business.
What advice would you give to startups looking to secure high-profile partnerships?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think you really need to think about what you want that partnership to deliver. Is this partnership a sort of a brand association, and it's going to drive greater brand awareness, greater brand credibility? As a small business, as a startup, obviously, you're potentially coming up against big incumbents, and having that association can be huge. There might be a technical integration. So we have a technical integration with L'Oreal from a stock ordering point of view. That sets us apart, and that gives a really clear demonstrable benefit to our partners we can sell off the back of. It could be a go-to-market partnership. It could be lead generation. I think every partnership fulfills a different role. You need to think about what you want that partnership to do and be very single-minded in assessing, can that partnership deliver on that? And is there an incentive for them to do so? Because if not, ultimately, as business owners, we have to look after our own interests. And whilst somebody might love the idea of a partnership and pushing your product, are they financially incentivized? Are they motivated to do so? If they are, they will. If they're not, then it will be a partnership on paper, but it won't really deliver everything. So you need to be quite specific about what you want that to deliver.
How do you see the intersection of technology and beauty evolving in the next 5-10 years?
I think for us, we're on a very different journey to a lot of verticals because, as I said, still a huge amount of white space. 60% of salons are still using pen and paper. Only 20% of all bookings in the UK are online. So I think those trends will massively increase. Online booking will become much more of a thing, but also those businesses will start to take on technology more and more because, as I said, you've got those tailwinds where you've got the legislative perspective of making tax digital in the UK. You've got the Tipping Act, which is really forcing people to start to use software if they're not already. And then you've got the consumer trend of people wanting to book online. They want that ease, that convenience, which will push SMBs to offer this. And then I think underlying with that, I mentioned with payments, I think payments will increasingly be a big part of this, where you will have a unified ecosystem that is bookings and payments all together, because the efficiencies that can deliver in terms of bookkeeping, analytics, CRM are huge. Then you can get into some capital lending where it's much easier to underwrite a loan to somebody because you understand their business. You can see what they've got. Their bookings for the next 2-3 months. You've got X years of revenue that you can understand about their predictability, their reliability. And so suddenly it becomes more of a fintech type product. There's a huge amount of white space. It's incredibly kind of nascent, which for a lot of verticals is very different. They've had technology for 10, 15, 20 years. We're almost at the start of that. So technology evolution, which seems strange to be saying in 2024, but I think it's true.
The global AI beauty market will reach more than 13 billion by 2030. What are your insights on how these advancements might shape the future of customer experiences in the beauty space?
I think there's two answers to that. AI already is starting to shape the customer experience in salon, where you're starting to use tools in terms of virtual try-on. So L'Oreal, for instance, you can try on different hair colors, different makeups, to actually almost try before you buy. Something that obviously previously you're taking a bit of a risk. If I want to dye my hair brown, well, you go and do it and see what the results are. Now you can see what it's going to look like and make an informed decision. So it's changing the way consumers shop and their purchasing decisions. I think also from a business perspective, what salons, beauty practitioners are selling, they're selling an experience, but ultimately they're selling time. You're buying an experience, but you're also buying an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours of a practitioner's time. And trying to drive efficiencies in these businesses is really, really key, because if you've got somebody sitting around for 2 hours not being utilized, well, you're paying rent, you're paying utilities, you're paying wages on that person. Now, if you can utilize them and get a client through the door, well, suddenly going to be more profitable. And so using AI to better understand the peaks and troughs of your business, your quiet periods, your busy periods, is going to be really important. Already we've got machine learning in our system whereby we can actually show certain slots to clients that will ensure the salon is more efficient. So we will hide slots that will essentially allow somebody to book in and leave gaps in the calendar. And we will only show them certain slots. So it means that somebody's booked back to back to drive efficiency. So already that's stuff that we're doing now. And I think that trend will carry on because people will be using AI to better resource, better predict demand, but better assign supply to that demand, and trying to book people in correctly, drive efficiencies, but then also that client retention piece. Analyzing client trends. When a client's not coming back, okay, right, we've got automated prompts based on the history as to look, here's an offer. You haven't been in for X weeks. We know that you typically come in X number of times a year. These are your typical services. Here's a custom offer. So I think there's a huge amount that we can be doing, because these businesses are sitting on huge data lakes of their client trends, their preferences, their preferred staff member, their preferred services, timings, etc., that all really can be utilized to drive those efficiencies.
What advice would you give to someone looking to start their own business in the tech beauty industry?
I think it's the same whether it's tech, whether it's beauty, tech and beauty. It's really to understand. I saw a good post about this the other day on LinkedIn. You have to get close to your customer. I think it's very easy to hypothesize what problems are out there and what problems you're going to solve, and then the demand for that. And you can take from a different vertical and say, well, they're going to want this. Therefore, I know what they want. I can build that. I can price it based on this. And actually, that's going to work. You have to understand your customers' motivations. For instance, in our market, marketplaces aren't really a thing. It's very different to food. You've got those relationships with your barber, your hairdresser. You don't necessarily want to go and see a new hairdresser or a new barber. You just want to go back and book with your existing one. Marketplaces work for fast food, for taxis. Doesn't really work for hair and beauty as well. And so you only really understand that by really getting close to your customer, spending time with them, asking what their pain points are, how you can help them, what do they like about their current way of working, what do they not like. And I think once you've got that, you can then start to work out what problems are there to be solved. Are people going to pay you to solve them? Because they might be problems, but there might not be any value there. And so really, the closer you can get to your customer, ask those questions before you start on anything, the better.
That brings us to the topic of IT outsourcing, which is a strategic decision many businesses face. What are the main advantages and disadvantages of outsourcing development teams from your perspective?
Yeah, so we've been working with an outsourced team really from day dot. And so we've got a permanent team in the UK, but we've also got an outsourced team. I think the benefits are the sort of the flexibility that has in terms of being able to upsize and downsize as you need. Obviously, in the last couple of years, the funding environment has been pretty choppy. And so being able to upscale your team, being able to equally lay off the team as and when you need, and having that flexibility is a huge kind of sort of plus. I think the other thing that we've really seen is you are having a permanent team. Yes, they're going to have their own networks from which to learn. But I think having an outsourced team, they have that, I guess, support and that infrastructure where they are constantly being challenged and they're learning from their peers in their parent company. You've then got people that are coming into your organization with new ideas, new best practice. They're able to talk to their peers who potentially are solving very similar problems, but for a different company, and essentially say, look, this is what I'm trying to solve. How are you solving it? There's a huge amount of commonality there. So it brings a much richer environment in some respects because they've plugged into different ecosystems.
What factors influenced your decision to outsource your development teams rather than keeping it entirely in-house?
Cost is obviously one. The cost of a developer in London versus the cost of a developer in Bulgaria is very different. So I think that's fairly obvious, but obviously that is a consideration. I think also access to a trusted source of talent is huge. Our CTO had worked with our outsourced team before, knew them, trusted them, really rated them. And so when our funding came through and we needed to scale up, we could have run very lengthy interview processes, hired recruiters to support us on that, or we could move very quickly to an outsourced development team and essentially get a list of CVs from people that we trust, people that we know have already been vetted, who are available pretty quickly. And so that speed is also really important.
Can you share some strategies for effective communication and coordination between the in-house and outsourced development teams?
Like pretty much every startup, we use Slack. You've got daily stand-ups to align the teams, a bi-weekly sprint planning, monthly reviews. I think underpinning all of that is a view that our outsourced team are no different to our in-house team. They are taken into our company update calls. We look at them as the same, really. I mean, one of our outsourced developers has been with us for, I think, 5.5 years. So we really look at them as they are our team. They're not just an outsourced team, an agency. They are our team. And I think that breeds a sense of trust, belonging, involvement, real passion for what they're building. And they're not just working on a project, they are working for Slick. And I think hopefully they feel that. And that obviously results in people are super passionate about what they're doing. They care about it. The level of quality, attention to detail is second to none. But also they really understand our customers. They're not just taking a brief from product and executing it. They're thinking about our customers and what's going to work for them because they know them, because they're vested in it and they've been here for such a long time. They're thinking as a permanent employee would.
Are there specific regions or countries that you find particularly promising, probably except Bulgaria, promising for tech talent, and how do you navigate the challenges associated with a global talent pool?
Most of our offshore team is to Bulgaria, Macedonia region, and they've been brilliant. I think in terms of, sort of the global aspect and finding the talent, if you look to do it yourself, yes, there are many platforms out there. There are many recruiters that will support you in that. I think you then get into, if you're looking to then hire them permanently, you've then obviously got visa issues. You've got all sorts of things that you've got to consider where you probably as a founder don't have that expertise. And I guess that's where an outsourced strategy really comes into its own, because you're offloading that onto somebody else's shoulders. They're going to be presenting you with a list of talent saying, look, we've got these people, we think they'd be a really good fit for what you're doing, for your brief, and look, here are our recommendations. But I think also you've then got that flexibility to then scale up, scale down, but also as you get new projects, you might be in a web app, but then you're looking at a native app. Suddenly you can actually be appointing somebody and they can be looking globally for, okay, who's the best person that we've got on our books that could be doing that. So as your business pivots and sees new opportunities, you've got that flexibility, both in terms of skills, but also in terms of that global talent pools. I think that's where the early days, and as you scale up, the outsourced route does really work for us.
To conclude, for business leaders contemplating outsourcing as growth strategy, what is the most valuable piece of advice would you give them?
My LinkedIn is probably every week I probably get a message from an outsourced agency promising to cut costs and deliver me top talent, etc., etc. I think the biggest thing is referrals, is building your own network of people that you trust who potentially are already using outsourced teams. What's their experience? What introductions can they make? If you don't have that network naturally, I think it's then really important to try and go and build that network and try and reach out to people to get introductions and ask friends, other founders who you might know, can they make an intro into their network of somebody that is using outsourcing? Because as with everything, it's the same with marketing agencies, lead gen agencies, accountants. Everyone will sell you a great deal and sell you the dream. Ultimately, you're putting a huge amount of trust in those teams to deliver on your business, whether that is marketing or whether that is actually building the product. And having that referral and having that trust from somebody that you can speak to about their experience, I think is really, really important.
Rob, thanks for joining me today. Thanks for your time. I find it very useful for my auditory. You shared quite a few important advices for them. Thanks for having time.
Well, no, thank you. Lovely to chat. Great to catch up and talk about it all.
If you enjoy our discussion and want to stay updated on future episodes, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way you will not miss out on the latest insights and conversations from the Devico Breakfast Bar. See you in the next episode.